Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The room was quiet except for the faint hum of rain against the window. The world outside seemed to blur, leaving only the warmth between us. I could feel his breath before I heard him speak, low, steady, and far too close. My heart skipped. That kind of silence only happens when something's about to change. We weren't doing anything, not really. Just lying there, shoulder to shoulder, half under the same blanket. But every second stretched longer, heavier, like the air itself had learned how to whisper. When I turned my head, his eyes caught mine, and everything else fell out of focus. His fingers brushed against mine, a simple touch that somehow felt like a promise and a question at the same time. I laughed softly, trying to steady my breath, but the sound barely made it past my lips. His smile, quiet, knowing, was the kind that said he already understood. There was no need for words. The closeness spoke louder than anything we could have said. My heartbeat quickened, a flutter against the stillness, as he leaned just a little closer. Close enough that I could feel the warmth of him, close enough that my thoughts started to blur. Then, he whispered my name. Just that, but it was enough to make the world stop moving. And in that moment, I realized, whatever happened next would change everything. Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Morning came slowly, stretching its pale light across the room. The rain had stopped, but the quiet still lingered, that kind of silence that says more than words ever could. I woke up first, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts tangled between comfort and confusion. He was still beside me, one arm loosely around my waist as if afraid to let go even in sleep. For a second, I almost believed everything was simple, that this warmth meant we were okay. But deep down, I knew better. It hadn't always been this complicated. We used to laugh about everything: late-night drives, cheap coffee, shared secrets that made the world feel smaller. But somewhere along the way, those laughs turned into long pauses, and our secrets started feeling heavier. He stirred, eyes half open, giving me that sleepy smile that always disarmed me. "You're awake early," he murmured. His voice was rough, soft around the edges, the kind that made you forget what you wanted to argue about. "I couldn't sleep," I whispered back, trying to sound casual. But even that simple answer carried too much truth. He brushed a strand of hair from my face, his fingers lingering a second too long. There it was again, that unspoken electricity, the question neither of us dared to ask: were we still in love, or just afraid of losing what we used to be? Breakfast was quiet. He moved around the kitchen like he knew the rhythm of my every thought, setting down coffee, toast, glancing up just enough to meet my eyes, then looking away before either of us had to say something real. When I finally spoke, it wasn't about what I wanted to say. "You've been distant lately." He froze for a moment, spoon midair. "So have you," he replied. There was no anger, just honesty, the kind that hurts more because it's true. I turned toward the window, watching sunlight catch the raindrops still clinging to the glass. "I miss how we used to be," I said quietly. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached across the table, fingertips brushing mine, hesitant, unsure. That tiny touch carried all the weight of everything we hadn't said. And just like that, the tension returned. Not the kind that pushes people apart, but the kind that reminds you there's still something worth holding on to, even if it's fragile. He leaned forward slightly, his voice almost a whisper. "Then maybe we can find our way back." My heart raced again. Hope, dangerous, reckless, beautiful, flickered somewhere deep inside. Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. That evening, the air felt different, heavier somehow, charged. The kind of night where every sound seemed louder, every silence more dangerous. We had plans to meet friends, but I almost didn't go. Something between us had been shifting all day, small glances that lingered too long, half-finished sentences that felt like confessions. Still, I went. Maybe I needed to see us from the outside, surrounded by people who didn't know what was unraveling between us. When we arrived, he slipped easily into laughter, charm glowing in that effortless way that used to make me proud, and now made something twist in my chest. His attention bounced from person to person, his smile landing a little too long on someone else. I told myself not to care. But when her hand brushed his arm and he didn't pull away, my pulse stuttered. I felt it, that sharp ache of jealousy I didn't want to admit still existed. Later, he found me by the bar. "You've been quiet," he said softly, the noise of the room fading around us. "I'm fine," I replied, but the look in his eyes said he knew better. He stepped closer, too close for casual conversation. The space between us disappeared in a heartbeat. His voice lowered, steady and dangerous. "You're never fine when you say that." The air tightened. My breath caught. The music was loud, but in that moment, it might as well have been silence. His hand brushed mine, accidental, deliberate, and every thought I'd been trying to hold back rushed to the surface. "Don't," I whispered, though I wasn't sure what I meant. "Don't stop, or don't make me want you again." His jaw clenched. "You think I don't see the way you look at me?" I froze. The world around us blurred, lights, laughter, everything fading into something slow and dangerous. Before I could answer, someone called his name, breaking the moment. He stepped back, forcing a smile, but his eyes stayed on me. That look said everything. This wasn't over. Not even close. Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The night had stretched on longer than either of us expected. After the party, no one said anything about leaving together, but somehow, we did. The drive was quiet, the kind of silence that hums beneath the surface, filled with things neither of us dared to say aloud. When we reached his place, the city felt far away. Just the sound of the wind brushing past the windows and the low hum of the refrigerator in the next room. He offered me tea. I nodded, though my hands were already trembling. Every move he made, the way he leaned against the counter, the way his eyes met mine when he passed me the cup, carried a weight that was almost unbearable. For a moment, we stood there in the soft kitchen light, surrounded by shadows that seemed to pulse with memory. "I didn't mean to make things complicated," he said finally, his voice low, steady. "Too late," I replied before I could stop myself. Our eyes locked, neither of us moving, both caught between the comfort of what we knew and the danger of what we felt. He took a slow step forward. "You could tell me to stop," he murmured. I swallowed hard. "Would you listen?" He smiled faintly, that same quiet, broken smile that had undone me 100 times before. The air between us seemed to thrum with something electric. I could feel his warmth even before he reached me, the closeness pulling at every nerve, every memory, every reason I had to walk away. Outside, thunder rumbled somewhere far off. Inside, time seemed to slow, the rhythm of my heart beat loud in my chest. When he finally spoke again, it was barely more than a whisper. "You still want this, don't you?" My breath caught. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The distance between us was gone now, just an inch of air, a moment of choice. And then, disclaimer, this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The thunder had moved closer. Each rumble felt like a warning, or maybe a countdown. We stood there, motionless. The air was thick with everything left unsaid. His hand was still near mine, but neither of us reached out this time. Something in his eyes had changed, softer, but also shadowed, like he was holding something back. "I need to tell you something," he said finally. His tone was quiet, almost fragile, but it cut straight through the silence. I tried to smile. That sounds serious. It is. He hesitated, glancing away before his gaze found mine again. You deserve the truth. About why I pulled away. About her. My heart stopped. Her. He exhaled, slow, heavy, as if the words themselves hurt to let go. It wasn't what you think, he said quickly. It started as work, and I didn't mean for it to happen. But it did. The room felt smaller suddenly. My fingers tightened around the mug I was still holding, warmth fading fast against the chill creeping into my chest. I wanted to tell you, he continued, voice cracking now. Every time I looked at you, I hated myself for it. But then tonight what? My voice came out sharper than I meant, trembling on the edge of disbelief. Tonight reminded me what I'm still fighting for, he said. You. Us. I wanted to scream, to walk away, to believe him, all at once. The betrayal burned, but so did the longing that refused to die. You don't get to say that, I whispered. Not after lying. He took a step closer. Then hate me. Yell. Do anything, just don't walk away without knowing I never stopped loving you. Outside, lightning flashed, bright, blinding for an instant. I saw everything in that split second, the regret in his eyes, the truth I didn't want to hear, and the impossible choice I now had to make. Tears blurred my vision, but I didn't move. Because even now, even after everything, part of me still ached for him. Then came the sound, a sharp knock on the door. We both froze. He turned toward it, confusion flickering across his face. Who? The door opened slowly. And there she was. Her eyes met mine first. Then his. The storm outside was nothing compared to the one that had just entered the room. Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. For a moment, no one spoke. The sound of rain filled the silence, a steady rhythm that seemed to echo every heartbeat in the room. She stood in the doorway, the woman I didn't want to believe existed. Her face was calm, but her eyes betrayed her. They darted between us, unsure who had been more wronged. I shouldn't have come, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. But I had to see if you told her. My breath hitched. I turned to him. His expression crumbled, guilt, fear, regret, all written in the set of his jaw. You told me it was over, I said, my voice shaking. Was that another lie? He looked at me, really looked, and for the first time, I saw the man behind all the defenses. It was over, he said, but I didn't end it the right way. I ran. From her. From you. From everything. The storm outside cracked open, lightning flashing across his face as if the sky itself wanted to reveal every secret at once. The other woman's voice broke. He kept saying your name, she said softly. Even when he was with me. I guess that should have told me enough. It was too much. The room felt like it was closing in, air thick with everything we'd all left unsaid. I can't do this, I whispered, turning toward the door. He reached for me, but stopped himself, fingers curling midair. Please. Don't go like this. Let me say what I should have said before. I froze, not turning around. I never stopped loving you, he said. But love isn't enough if it's built on silence. I hurt you. I know that. And I'd give anything to take it back. His words hung between us, heavy but real. For a long moment, I didn't move. Then I turned, meeting his eyes one last time. You don't get to fix this with words, I said quietly. You'll have to prove it. The other woman stepped back, nodding faintly, the understanding of someone who knew her chapter was over. I walked past them both, out into the storm. The rain was cold, sharp, cleansing. Somewhere behind me, I heard him call my name, but I didn't stop. Because sometimes love needs to break to find its truth again. And maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end. Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. It had been days since that night, days that felt like years. The rain had finally stopped, but the silence between us lingered like a shadow neither of us could outrun. I'd told myself I was done, that walking away was the only way to move forward. But love, real love, doesn't disappear just because it hurts. It waits. It tests. And sometimes, it finds its way back when you least expect it. When I saw him again, it wasn't planned. Just two people crossing paths where everything had once begun, the little cafe by the park. The same table, the same soft hum of background music, the same heartbeat I thought I'd finally forgotten. He looked tired, but different. Softer somehow. When he noticed me, he stood, hesitant, like he wasn't sure if he still had the right to smile. "Hey," he said quietly. I nodded. "Hey." There was an awkward pause, but then he gestured to the seat across from him. "Coffee?" I hesitated for a breath, then sat down. Why not? We didn't rush the conversation. It came slowly, like morning sunlight after a long storm, gentle, cautious, real. "I've been in therapy," he admitted. "Trying to understand why I keep running from the things I want most." I looked at him, really looked. There was no defense in his eyes this time, only truth. "I'm sorry," he said. "Not just for what happened. For breaking something that didn't deserve to be broken." My throat tightened, but not from anger. "I'm not the same person I was either," I said softly. "Maybe we both needed to fall apart to understand what we were fighting for." He smiled, small, genuine, almost shy. Outside, sunlight broke through the clouds, painting the window in gold. For a moment, we just sat there, hands resting on the table, fingers inching closer until they finally met, not desperate this time, but certain. No promises, no rehearsed words. Just the quiet understanding that love, when it survives the storm, becomes something stronger. He whispered, "Can we start again?" I smiled. "Not from the beginning. From here." The camera lingers on their joined hands, the sunlight shimmering across the table, the faint hum of life moving on around them, a peaceful ending to a love that refused to disappear.